Howdy, this is Joe Tremblay. We're going to talk about RabbitMQ today. RabbitMQ is an open source message broker which allows you to make a distributed application. Typically when you have various components in a software system that need to communicate with each other, you got to come up with some way to do that, obviously. Message broker allows you to use it as a hub managing queues of various messages, so that when something happens in one process, possibly on machine A, another process, maybe on machine B, can react to that when it sees a message in the queue. This helps you to scale your applications, obviously, because you're putting processes on more than one machine. It also helps in responsiveness with, for example, web apps or Internet of Things clients that contact your server. You may need to do some significant processing, aggregation, or even just some writes that take more time, but may not be necessary for the response that you're sending back to the client in the client's request. So you can do the minimal amount that's necessary to process the client's request, create messages and put them into a queue for things that can be done asynchronously, and then that can be offloaded to other processes to handle in the background while your device or your web application continues on with in its normal usage. So what we're going to do today is set up a hello world sample. It's very similar to what's on the official RabbitMQ website, except that we're actually going to use multiple machines. We'll set up a Linux VM and use that to run RabbitMQ, and then we'll use my Windows host machine to create a couple of clients using .NET Core to communicate with that message queue. The first thing we're going to do is set up our Linux server. We'll use Ubuntu and the server version. So we just go to the website and download that to our local Windows machine. Now that that's done, we'll take a quick look at where we stuck the file. Make note of that, and then switch over to Oracle's VirtualBox. Create a new Linux box for this Ubuntu server. Just run through and take all the defaults for what it suggests for setting it up. It's something I'll probably throw away after the demo. Just here for a quick hello world. And select the location of the ISO that we downloaded. And that machine starts up. Now we're going to run through and take all the defaults on how to configure this virtual machine. We don't really need anything special. We'll set a machine username and a machine name. Simple user password. And let that VM can finish the setup. All right, now that we've got our Linux VM, we'll go ahead and log into it. The first thing we want to do is make sure that it knows about all of the package sources. So we'll run the apt-get update. And now we're ready to go ahead and install RabbitMQ. So again, that's sudo apt-get install RabbitMQ Server. Yes, and let her rip. Now we've got to want to go ahead and check to make sure that it's running. It's been running for all of 13 seconds. Now we're going to use the RabbitMQ command line configuration tool to add a user to the message broker. So this is not a machine user. This is just the user that we'll use for user password credentials we'll use when creating new messages that we're going to add to the queues. I'm going to go ahead and set that user as an administrator. Because we are in hello world mode right now, let's just make it easy. And give it all the permissions. Now we want to take a look and see what the IP address is for our machine, because we'll need that to communicate with it. Now let's get Visual Studio set up. And to go ahead and create a new project for what we're going to do today. Put it in our making software folder. And we'll call it RabbitMQ1. We do want this to be an ASP.core web application, or not a web application, an a .NET Core console application. So we are keeping it very simple. And actually what we want are two projects, one for sending and one for receiving. So within our solution here, we'll make a send console app. We'll make a receive console app. And then we'll go ahead and get rid of that initial project within the solution. So to talk to our message broker, we're going to need the RabbitMQ client NuGet package. So we'll go into the NuGet package manager for the solution, go to browse, and our package source you can see is NuGet.org. And we're looking for the RabbitMQ client package. Select both of our projects and install our latest stable release of RabbitMQ client. Those are downloaded and applied to our projects. And at this point, we should be able to build. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Open up a PowerShell, prompt, go to our directory, and we just want to see that we can run the default applications. This has the RabbitMQ client library as part of it, but we're not doing anything with it yet. It's just the default program you get when you create a new console app that says write something to the console. So we use the .NET command and give it our project DLL, and it says hello world. Of course, that's not the hello world we're interested in. We're interested in actually doing something with the RabbitMQ library. So let's go into our project, our program. We're going to be using this RabbitMQ client library, so let's stick that using up at the top right away. So we get some IntelliSense for what we're going to do here. We're looking for connection factory. For host name, we're going to use the IP address of our virtual Linux server. But we had set up our username as Cottontail and password of Flopsy earlier when we were configuring the message broker. So we put those in now, and go ahead and stick in our IP address. So let's make a connection. Make a channel that we can use to communicate over that connection. And we need to declare a queue. So when we send something to a queue, it will automatically be created. The queue will automatically be created, and we'll just call this my queue. Durable, we're not going to deal with a durable queue at this point, but what that would do if we said true for durable is that it would persist the messages to disk, so that if the message broker is restarted, that we wouldn't lose anything. Exclusive is used when you just have one client that's going to temporarily use a queue, and then it can be deleted when that's done. And auto delete would cause the queue to be deleted when the last consumer disconnects. But we'll just keep things simple right now. So the actual message we're going to send is just from client. So we need to encode that in UTF-8 and get the bytes, because it's not really expecting raw text. We need to send the actual bytes. When we go ahead and publish our message now, using the default exchange, and the routing key here is actually just the queue name. RabbitMQ allows all kinds of different configurations for routing messages. You can use regular expressions, but we're keeping it super simple. And body was just the data that we're going to be sending. And then we'll write out to the console what we sent. I'll go ahead and build that. Jump over to our command prompt, and then we can run it. And it says hello world. We actually put all this in receive and stick it in send. Build send, and then check it out. And we're hanging here, and we've got an error. Host is failing to respond. (10.02.15). That's actually our problem. That's indicating that we're on a private network. So we go back over to VirtualBox. You can see it says NAT, which is just going to be, it can access the internet, but internet can't access it, or nothing on the local networks. We're going to change it to a bridged adapter. That'll allow our host machine to talk to the client as if it's on the same network. And we'll go ahead and ping the new IP address that we've got, and that looks promising. Let's go back to our code where we have that IP address hard-coded and change that. And let's go ahead and stick it in receive as well right now, even though we're going to have to do a little bit more coding in there to actually receive. Now we should be able to run and send that message. Sent from client. And of course, from client was the actual data. Now let's work on receive. So a lot of what we have here is going to be the same. We'll have the same connection factory, same connection creation, same channel, and the same queue. But we're going to create an event-based consumer. So each time we get a message from this channel, it'll fire off a message, a Windows message that we can then use to process the data that we get back from the message. Let's grab the body off of the event. Let's use the right encoding to turn those bytes into a string. And let's write it out to the console. So now that we've set up that message handling, let's go ahead and tell it to consume off of my queue. We'll auto acknowledge that we got it. You wouldn't want to use this in any kind of production app, but it's we're in hello world mode. Auto act just means that we can, when we receive it right there, we let the message broker know that we received it. Normally you'd want to do that after you do whatever little processing that you've done, so you know that it's handled properly. So we go ahead and build, and let's open up another console window just for clarity here. Get over to our making software, RabbitMQ receive. Take a look Cool, we got there, we're in the right place. So we can say .NET received DOL. And we got nothing. There should be something in the queue. Let's take a look here. I think what's happening is we are ending immediately. So we'll go ahead and have our application wait. Okay, so good, we got that message out of the queue. We'll take a look here, we'll send a couple more. And they're sent and received. We're golden.